Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very exciting podcast number 8. Look at this function that I drew, and what if you multiplied it by a -3? What if you shifted it to the right by 2? And what if you shifted it up by 1? So this means go up by 1. X minus 2 means go to the right by 2. Then the negative means invert it and multiply by a 3. So the negative means invert. So invert means basically the function was going down here. So invert that, and it's going to have to be going up. And then instead of it going up to here, it has to invert and do the opposite. So it'd go like this. So basically just the invert part would look basically about like that. Then we need to move that graph to the right and move it up. Well, trying to do that with just the graph is extremely difficult. A much better way to do it is take some numbers from the graph. So the important points are this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And make a table of values. So the first red dot, so this is the original. And I'm going to make a little table with X's and Y's. And the first red dot is at -2 and the Y value is 0. The next red dot up here, that means X equals -1 and Y equals 4. Then there is the origin, which is 0, 0. Next, there is that point at the bottom, which is a minimum value. So that's at 1 and -7 for Y. And then the last one is where it's crossing the x-axis at 3. So that means X equals 3 and then Y equals 0. And then I need to just grab this . Copy that, move it over here so that I can see it. Okay, there we go. All right, so if you watched the last podcast, you know that X minus 2 in the parentheses moves it to the right. So all of the X values have to move to the right. So basically for all of the X values, I need to actually move them to the right. So that means add 2. So instead of X, it's going to be X plus 2. So for each X value, you just add 2 to each one of those. So the first one will be -2 plus 2 is 0. The second one will be -1 plus 2, which is 1. Next will be 0 plus 2 is 2. And then 1 plus 2 is 3. And the bottom one is 3 plus 2 is 5. All right, that's the X values. After that, you can say, all right, we're done with this X minus 2 business. So I can just abbreviate this and say, it's really saying -3 times the Y value plus 1. So that's the heading for this new column, -3 times the Y value plus 1. So now go over to all of these blue Y values and take each one of them and multiply by -3 and then plus 1. So the first one will look like -3 times 0 plus 1. So that's the first one. And then this equals just a 1. Now I'll go to the second one. -3 times 4 plus 1. So that would be -12 plus 1. So that's -11. Next up, use 0. So -3 times 0 plus 1. That equals 1. Now it's the -7. So -3 times -7 plus 1. Well, -3 times -7 is -21 plus 1 is 22. And then for the last one, 3 times 0 plus 1 equals 1. And now take this table of values and make a graph. So for that, we have, hopefully I can fit it on here. We have x equals 0 is important, and also 1, and 2, and 3, skip 4, and 5. And then for the y values, it goes up to 22, so I'm not going to be able to draw it to scale, but it goes up to 22 for the biggest, and it goes down to -11 for the smallest. And then there's also the ones that show up 3 times. Okay, so then let me just clean this up a little bit. I don't need this anymore. And then I can just concentrate on the graph, which I believe should be blue. All right. So 1 point, so the first point was 0, 1. So 0, 1 is right here. And the next one is go over to 1 and then down to -11. Next, it's 2, 1. And then 3 and goes up to 22. And then for the last one, let me get my blue pen back, 5, and at a height of 1. So then it looks like the function should look basically like this. It's going to swoop down, it's going to go up to 22, and then it's going to go down, and then just put some arrows on the end, and it's done.